have some bad news, and it's that next week I have to go back to work. In case you didn't know, when I'm not making silly little YouTube videos, I actually am a speech therapist working at an elementary school, so I work in special education. And next week is when I have to go back and actually start working and not having summer break anymore. Having a summer break is the #1 reason why I chose a school setting. It is so nice to have time off, but that does mean my mind is starting to get back into the school spirit and planning really how I want my classroom and how I want my year to look. With that, last year was my first year at this school, and it took half a year for the kids to figure out my name. And even then, by the end of the year, I still had a lot of kids who just called me teacher. Not a teacher, but that's just what they ended up calling me anyways. So it was really helpful for the older students when I had my name written on the board behind me. But this year I want something a little bit nicer than that. Today's just gonna be kind of a really relaxing video where I'm gonna make some decorations for my classroom. I really wanna make like a name banner, preferably quilted. That way I can keep it up in my classroom year round, and it's a little cuter than just having my name written up on a whiteboard. My goal for today really is just to work on this name banner that I have. I've gone on Pinterest a little bit and I've accumulated a couple different ideas for what I could do for this. I don't think I'm going to be going with the quilted letter, pieced letter look. Instead, I've really been drawn more towards appliqué, and it's a technique that I haven't used yet. So I'm really interested in kind of playing around with that and seeing how it would go. But before I can really dive headfirst into this, I need to figure out what colors, what combinations of fabric I'm going to be using for this. Now, it's kind of a long story, but I recently went through and tried to organize a lot of my scrap fabric and my fat quarters, and I ran out of time. So a lot of it has just ended up in one of these giant zippered duffel bags. So I don't really have a great fabric organization right now. It's something that I'm working on and I'm hoping to figure out before I really have to go, because I just have bags around my apartment right now, which isn't my favorite look. This is the bag where I have a lot of my fat quarters and a lot of my fabric saved. I went through some of my larger fabric and I found this light purple that I think will look really nice. My classroom right now is painted with most of the walls being white, and then one statement wall is a very light pastel blue. So I feel like staying with that purple bluish look is going to look nice. With that, I do like to add a little bit of whimsy in my classroom. So I love putting up banners and adding different things. I tend to change the banners every month depending on what kind of holiday or what is happening in the year. I have a heart banner for Valentine's Day. I have one that has little snowflakes that I like to put up in January. So this banner does have to fit with a variety of colors. Since I changed things so drastically, this is going to be a constant hanging up in my room. I want it to fit with everything that I could put up as a decoration. That being said, I think I have enough here that I could do a pretty solid rainbow. Online, I tend to go by Ren, or just not say my name for fun. But the kids at my school call me Miss Lauren. It's just easier than saying my last name. It's a little more casual. I don't need to be called by my last name. But Miss Lauren is what the kids call me. And so that is what I'm going to have on my banner. With that, I need 8 colors and a period if I'm gonna make each letter a different color, because I'm thinking rainbow. I feel like that could just be really cool. And when you work with kids, you just kind of have the excuse to make everything as colorful as possible. That means I get to dig through here and kind of see what my options are for the different colors.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
Okay, now that I have all of my different colors picked out, I'm really happy with them. I think they're super bright and colorful. I especially love this one. It's a fat quarter that I got at an estate sale a while ago. There's no markings on the border, so I don't know where I got it, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's one of those pieces that I've saved for a long time because it's too small to do anything like big with, but I just love it so much. So I thought incorporating it into a banner I'm gonna see almost every day will help me mourn its loss a little bit more as I use it up. But as I went through, I have lots and lots of different colors here. And next is the challenge of figuring out how I'm going to actually cut these out. I have stencil letters, but they are in my classroom, so I don't really want to drive to school just to get them for this banner. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the freehanding route. I'm gonna try my best and use some snail mail just to like trace out the letters, guesstimate how big they are going to be. Then I can trace my paper letters onto my fabric and then cut it out of my fabric. And I can use interfacing to kind of help them keep their shape. But once I kind of figure out my lettering, I think it's pretty good to go. I have a general idea for how big it needs to be. In my head, I don't want the banner to be more than like 2.5 feet by 2 feet. That's pretty big. I have pretty high ceilings, so it can hang like above the whiteboard as needed, but I don't want it to be this huge banner, but it still needs to be seen from a child's perspective down below.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
I have finished cutting out all of my letters and it looks pretty nice if I do say so myself. This went by a lot faster than I thought it was going to, and so I feel like I'm pretty ready to move on to the next steps, which is actually the sewing part of this. I've done all the cutting, I've done a lot of ironing. Now it's time to actually break out the sewing machine. You know what they say, sewing is like 90% ironing. I'm gonna start pinning my letters in place, and then I can get to actually sewing them down. I have a couple options, and I think what I'm going to end up doing is taking a zigzag stitch and then in each color going around and zigzagging the edges all down in place. I'm gonna have to wind so many bobbins is what I'm realizing. So I might just like wind a bobbin a little of each one and then undo it for each next letter, because I don't need a lot of thread for each one of these, but I also don't know how much I'll need in total. But yeah, so I'm gonna finish pinning down these letters and then I can move on to the actual sewing portion of the evening, which I'm very excited about.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
Okay, I finished my banner. I have yet to press it. She bunchy. She has some tension in her that I'm really hoping the ironing will help. Just from like the tension of appliquing it, it definitely has some puckers throughout, But other than that, I am really happy with how this turned out. Let me tell you, the hardest part was by far the inside of this A and then this S. I'm glad I waited to do the S until the very, very end because I could feel myself improving as I went through the letters. I started with the N and made my way over here before coming up and finishing with the dot. So if you look too closely, I'm not gonna give you a good view of it, but my N isn't my best letter, but I definitely improve as I went along. So in my free time, I'm actually making a quilt, like a big full size, well, it's a lap quilt. So I'm currently borrowing one of my friend's machines because she has a walking foot. And I'm very excited because I've never used a walking foot. So this banner is kind of my test drive of it before I whip out like my big sewing project that it would be so much harder to fix compared to this like very small project that I only care about a little bit. So I'm really excited to use this kind of as a tester to get used to using a walking foot. I don't think I'm going to be quilting a lot of this. I liked the idea of the horizontal lines, but with the tension, I'm worried about how that's gonna look. So I really need to figure out what I'm gonna be doing for the actual quilting of all of this. As for right now, I'm just going through with a lot of safety pins and I'm pinning this down with about a knuckles width in between each one. That way it's all fully secure. I'm currently out of basting spray, so normally I would like to kind of glue this down and in place, but that's not going to happen right now. So we're just really relying on pins to hopefully make this all work out. I am very happy I did this before I experiment on my giant quilt though, because I had a few problems with the tension that I didn't love. So I was able to play around with it a little bit more and I found a tension that I think works very well for this. It still is very like wrinkly, homemade, but once it's up on a wall, it doesn't really matter. It's just like a fun decoration. I need to square this up and trim it all up because it is very wonky, especially at the bottom. Very much just like cut what I could. And I need to make a decision on what I would like to do for the binding. I feel like I have two options, which is I have enough of this purple to continue the purple in the binding, or I could find like a fun contrasting color and use that as the binding and the loops to hang it. I'm gonna dig through my fabric stash a little bit and see what I could find, but I'm leaning more towards the fun binding just because this is a lot of purple and I feel like having another color in here will just bring it to life a little bit more.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
It turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to. I ended up putting these little straps here that I just sewed into the bias binding. So if I want to hang this up with magnets or something, I can put them down. Or I have these little magnetic hooks that I have on my whiteboard, and that's how I'm planning on hanging it up. So I'll have two little loops here to hang up on my whiteboard throughout the year. But I think it turned out really good. I was really worried about some of like the layout and the puckering that happened after I did all of that stitching, but it kind of just looks like the crinkles that you would normally get with a quilt. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. I think it's gonna be something really cute to put up on my wall and just like have another decoration. And I think it's gonna be functional, especially for my kids who maybe are transferring from a different SLP or from a different school, or just like have trouble remembering my name. That's fair. So having a little sign that just says Miss Lauren will help them remember, and I'm really happy with it. Especially happy that I did this fun border. I don't know if you can see on camera, but it's these white and blue dots on this orange, and I think it adds just like another level of fun to the banner altogether. But I really love this, and this was such a quick and easy project for me to do today. It took me a couple hours, and now this is something that I'm gonna have in my classroom for years to come. Thank you so much for watching. I put out videos usually every other Tuesday, but now that I'm heading into the school year, I think I'm just gonna do videos whenever I finish a project, and so it might be a little while in between videos depending on how busy I am. I'm currently working on a dress right now, and so that should be in my next video, hopefully if everything works out as planned, fingers crossed. But until then, I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye. I'm really hoping that once this video is done, that you can see that it says Miss Lauren and that it's not reversed. I may have to fix that in editing. We will see, because right now looking at the camera, it's backwards.